Hello everyone, welcome to Informatica videos. My name is Deepika. Today I'm going to demonstrate the process of deploying configurations locally or to another environment using command line interface. Today's agenda for this video will be we'll have a short introduction on the deploy concept, then we'll have a look at the prerequisites, syntax, deploy property file, and I'll show a small demo wherein we'll try to deploy one config. What exactly does the deploy process do? It helps us to migrate config file from one environment to another. Not essentially to another environment. The config can also be deployed to the same environment, that is, having a copy of the original config. This is called as local deploy. If we migrate config file from one environment to another environment, then it is called as remote deploy. This can be done using Server Manager CLI, that is Server Manager command line interface. From 9.6.2, this option is included in the console also. So we'll go through what are the prerequisites for this. Before you deploy a configuration to a production environment, manually apply all the DDL changes to the production databases. Then ensure that all components in the test environment and in the production environment use the same data replication version. If in one environment if you are using a earlier data replication version, upgrade that IDR installation. Then ensure that the login credentials remain inactive in the production environment throughout the deployment process. Also make sure that the named connections must be already created on the target server. There are two things like source server and target server. We are deploying one config from source server to target server. So make sure that the named connections must be already created on the target server. Syntax. Deploy a config. To deploy a config, we use this syntax: deploy, config, and the configuration name, then the deploy properties file. There is something called deploy properties file which I'll be showing you next. Then you have to specify its path, its name, and then you have to specify the password which is mentioned in that file if you are using it. Then -L. Here -L specifies local deploy. If you don't specify this option, then it is considered as remote deploy. Redeploy. This deploys changes to a replication configuration. That is, it deploys only the changes, not the entire config again. Here we have different options like -L, M, R, E, and A. L is like local deploy. M, it deploys only metadata changes. R, runtime settings. That is, it deploys only changes in the runtime settings. Then E, it deploys only changes in the extract range. A, it includes all the changes. That is, this parameter deploys all the configuration changes. If you are using -A, then it should not be used along with other options. So the things that you need to specify in the deploy property file are prod SM address. This is the host name or IP address of the system with the server manager main server instance in the production. Then its port number and then username. If the server manager server in the production uses HTTPS connection, then mention prod SM SSL as true. If not, then specify it as false. Then prod config will be the name of the config of the production system. Then in the deploy properties, we have source and target connections. As I have already told, named connection must be created on the target server before you deploy the config. Here the prod source connection is the name of the source named connection in the prod environment. Then prod source server is the source server manager instance. Then prod target connection. this is the name of the target database named connection. We have something called n here. Here n is the sequence number of the target connection. If we are using fan out config, you will have more number of targets. You will have one primary target and one or more secondary targets. In that case, you should specify the connection is primary target or the secondary target. If it's primary target, then prod is primary target should be set to true, or else it has to be set to false. Then prod recovery table n. This is the recovery table name including schema name or owner name. There will be a sample of deploy properties file under doc samples. Here this is the sample deploy property file which will be present as a part of your installation. So here I have made another copy of it which I'll be using to deploy. Here prod SM address is the prod server manager host name. You can even give the IP address, then the port number, username. It's not using HTTPS, so I have specified it as false for SSL. Then the config name, that is the config name which you want in the production. Here the prod source connection name, the prod source server manager name. Here I am using the source server manager and target server manager as main. And then prod target connection 1. Here I have only one target, that's why I have specified connection 1 for data rep user 2. This is the connection name for target, that is the named connection, and this is the recovery table. Since I have only one target connection, that is I am not using fan out, I am specifying prod is primary to true. If you are using fan out, then specify true for primary target, and for the secondary targets specify the connection to and give the target connection names, and for the secondary target you have to specify it as false. So this is the config which we are going to deploy. We will be using local deploy, that is the test copy will be present in the same server manager, that is will deploy the config to the same server manager, local deploy. I will start the command line interface. Will connect to the server manager, host name, port number, username, here deploy, config, test, and the deploy properties file. You have to specify the location, then the deploy property file name, we'll try to connect to it again. Deploy, config, test, paste, then deploy properties file name. Here we did not specify the -L option earlier, that's why it asked us for to enter the password of the another server. It thought that we are doing a remote deploy since we did not specify -l option. If we specify -l option, it assumes that it's a deploy in the same environment. That's why it doesn't ask for password. Or else in the earlier case it has asked for password because it thought it as a remote deploy. So here the configuration has been successfully deployed to the target server manager. We'll go and we'll check it in the console also. This is the config which I had earlier, and this is the deployed config. With this, we have come to an end of this video. Please write to us at supportvideos@informatica.com or https://twitter.com/infasupport. Thank you.